The actual reason you are tight and stiff, the $1,000,000 question, very, very important if you're trying to get back your physical freedom. It's one I wish I asked at the start of my journey, not after 10 years of trying the quick fixes. If we're not educating ourselves, we're going to be fooled by anything, okay? And we're just going to keep getting stuck in the loop. The, what do I like to call it? The roundabout of injuries and average progress, which is what it seems like. So first of all, we need the education. That's what we're going to dive into here today. Good way to think of it. If you're lost, you need education. If you're educated, you need action. If you're taking action, you need consistency. And what I see with so many people, same as myself, we're taking the action, we're being consistent, but we don't have the right education. So we're never going to get there. The education is the foundation that you build the action and the consistency on top of, and that's going to bring you where you want to go. Okay? So first of all, like most of you, when did we actually become tight and stiff? Like that's the start of it. When you try and think back, it just seems like as long as you can remember. But it's been a build up over time, okay? It hasn't just come out of the blue. We didn't just get like that over time, so it's not going to be fixed. Or sorry, overnight. We didn't just get like that overnight, so it's not going to be fixed overnight. But through the same process, we can come back out of it. Like my earliest examples there, I just remember seeing my sister sitting on the floor so easily. It was kind of like a 90-90 position, or even with both legs in internal rotation. I think I might have been 14 or 15. And I remember just trying it. And I was like, that does not feel good. Like, I remember I tried to sit with both legs in internal rotation and just sit down. I couldn't get down near the floor at all. I felt like my hips were going to pop. And that was my first kind of starting point of like, okay, maybe I'm not like other kids, or maybe, you know, just everyone seemed to be more mobile than me back then, and I was starting to get those aches and pains around kind of 15, 16. So that was signs of what was on the way. But, you know, what do we actually do then? As I have here in the weekly newsletter, it's on the same topic. I did the same as everyone else does, what we're told in the mainstream. Go to the chiropractor, go to the physio, stretch, foam roll, those type of things. Fast forward through all that, 10 years later, what happens? It had all just got worse to the stage where I had to give up sports. I had to give up jiu-jitsu at the time, and I had to stop in the gym because there's too many chronic pains and injuries going on, and going to all the experts telling me, you know, to settle, which was right at that time, but it doesn't have to stay like that, okay? The problem was I just wasn't currently prepared to do the things that I was trying to do. So moving on from there, we want to actually get into the topic of it now, because this is where the education is starting. This is where things can start to move and go in the right direction for you. So the big thing to understand, like the actual reason why we're getting tight and stiff, the brain is trying to protect you, okay? So that's why it's happening. You are tight and you are stiff because the brain, your brain, is trying to protect you, okay? That is huge, because I used to think it was a problem, you know, tight hips, tight back, oh, my back must be fucked, my hips must be fucked, because that's what I'm being told, and it's just getting worse. But in reality, your brain is just actually trying to protect you, to keep you alive so you can move around and survive. So it's not actually a problem, it's a solution. It's the opposite of what we think. It's not a problem, it's a solution. So once we actually know it's a solution, we can just come up with a better solution, which we've better mobility and control over the body, less need for tightness and pain, okay? So the understanding is going to be key here, and I'm going to delve into it in a good bit of detail. So why is it protecting us? You need to know a little bit about human evolution and where we've come from to understand this, okay? Because we didn't just always live in this modern life in houses. So a very quick kind of snapshot of evolution. We've been around for about 6 million years, all different types of species, all the way back from apes, okay? So 6 million years, and then the last 200,000 years has been Homo sapiens, which is the species of humans that me and you are and the whole planet are. There's no other species of humans left. There was before, but they're all died off, okay? So 6 million years, the span of humans. The species of humans that me and you are and the whole world is 200,000 years. And then me and you and everyone else, we're this tiny blip at the forefront of human evolution. And we've evolved all through there and had different things happen to keep us alive. Different adaptations that have happened in the brain, in the body, to keep us alive. If they didn't happen, we wouldn't be here. We would have died off and become extinct a long time ago. So things you know, like hunger, survival, hunger, thirst, sexual arousal, okay? We all understand those three things. They're ingrained deep in the brain. They're survival mechanisms that we have. If we didn't get hunger signals, we wouldn't eat, we would eventually die. Same with thirst, we would eventually die if we didn't get water. Same with sexual arousal. If we didn't get sexually aroused, we wouldn't reproduce, and me and you wouldn't be here. Okay, so there are three things we all understand, but what we don't understand, the tightness, stiffness, pain, that's coming in here as well. That's actually a survival mechanism to keep us alive. And that's why us thinking that we can fix it, that doesn't make any sense at all. Thinking that we can fix it. Think of hunger. It's like going to a dietitian and asking them, yeah, this hunger signal that I'm getting and it's making me eat lots of food and now I'm overweight. Can you just fix that hunger signal for me, please? Like, can you just turn it off because it's not helping my life? You know, you might kind of laugh at that and be like, that's a bit silly. It is silly, but you don't realize you asking people to fix your pain or think someone can just fix your pain, your tightness, your stiffness, that's just as ridiculous. Like, it doesn't make any sense in terms of the human body once you understand this. And it's the same with the other ones like hunger, thirst, sexual arousal. We can't just like fix it, turn it off forever. Those signals are there for a reason. We just learn to manage them. It's the exact same for the tightness, stiffness, pain. It can't be fixed, can't be turned off because it's there for survival reasons. We just learn how to manage them. And that's what I've done to come back. That's what I do with clients. You know, there's nothing magical here. It's just following human evolution and how the human body and brain works. And we'll run through some examples now because that's coming from like evolution and science, but a few examples to make sense of it for you. Hunter-gatherer example, and then I'll give it like a modern life one. Okay, so how is tightness and stiffness protecting you and keeping you alive so that you can survive and eat and reproduce? Go back to the hunter-gatherer days. Let's say me and you were running away from a predator and you step on a rock as we're running and your ankle twists, okay? So your ankle is going over into a range of motion that you're not going to be very strong in and you're more than likely going to get an injury. Your brain will know this in milliseconds that the ankle's going into a range that I'm not safe in, something bad is going to happen. It will pull everything around the ankle to try and protect it from having a really serious injury. So this could be the difference between what we call like a calf strain or a sprained ankle. We've just made those words up. That's what's happening instead of the brain letting the ankle fully go and well, not explode, well, nearly explode, but like break and shatter. So you'll have a broken ankle. If the brain didn't try and protect you with tightness, stiffness, and you broke your ankle, what happens then? You're fucked. Like, if a predator is coming after us, if I tried to pick you up and run with you on my back, we're both going to be dead, I'd have to leave you. Now you're gone, and that's it. And if every human was like that, again, we'd be extinct. We wouldn't be here if the brain wasn't protecting us and just letting us go into ranges of motion where we get really bad injuries, and then we can't move around. Like, even if the predator didn't eat you, how are you going to hunt for food now with a broken ankle? Do you see what I mean? So that's why the brain has evolved to not let us get serious injuries, and to, you know, pull up the handbrake before then. You'll see the analogy of the car later on. Pull up the handbrake before then and try and protect us and keep us alive. So the brain spraining your ankle there instead of letting it break, that could be the difference between you actually surviving. If you have a sprained ankle, you can still run on it. Wouldn't recommend it. A side note, I've tore my ankle ligaments and both my ankles and broke my leg and I was walking on it. Okay, that's a separate story, but you can push through it. Like with the adrenaline, you could push through a sprained ankle. You've probably done it in a match before and only realised afterwards. So you could still run away, or I could help you now to get away, and that's going to be much more likely that you're going to survive. And that saved your life, and hence that adaptation has come down through the generations because that's what's kept us alive all the way up to now. So as you can see, the tightness, stiffness that your brain gave the ankle, that's protected you and kept you alive, which is why we still have it today. Okay? So yeah, like in modern examples now, like even in matches, tight hips, that's better than a dislocated hip. Tight hips are better than a fully torn groin, a fully torn hamstring. You know, a tight back, that's better than getting a really serious back injury. Do you see what I mean? Like, this is all just the brain trying to protect you from more serious injuries. It's actually doing you a favor because you don't have enough, you know, strength and control and coordination of your own body. So it has to protect you for now. Okay? I'll go into a really good analogy then that stuck with me when I was coming through my own journey of trying to overcome chronic pains and injuries. And I'll give it to you now. Hopefully it'll have the same effect. It's the analogy of a driving test, okay? You'll understand it in a couple of minutes. Let's just say you went to do the driving test, but you didn't do any driving lessons, okay? So you just skipped all the driving lessons. Now you're trying to do the test. What would happen? You try and drive the car. The driving instructor will be looking at you like, oh shit, what is he doing? He has no control over the car. He is a real danger to himself. I better protect him here. Then he'll pull up the handbrake, stop the car, make the car tight and stiff. See where that's going. And again, why is he doing it? He's not doing that just for fun. He's doing that to actually protect you, because you are a danger to yourself now. You don't have enough control over the car. You could end up killing yourself. You could end up killing the both of you. Okay, so he's doing it for a reason. And that's the exact same thing there. Like, you probably get that analogy where it's going. The car is your body and the driving instructor is your brain. So just like in that example, driving instructor pulls up the handbrake if you don't have control over the car. Same with your brain. It'll pull up the handbrake on different parts of your body, like tight hips, tight back, whatever it is, if you don't have enough control over that area and it doesn't feel safe. Okay? That's really huge to understand. It's a really good analogy as well, because how do we get out of it? It's the same process. Like, with what you understand now, think of our strategy of going for a quick fix, going to a chiropractor, getting your back cracked, or going to a physio once and doing a few stretches and then just going back to the way you were. And you're still surprised you're getting tight and stiff when the brain's protecting you. Doesn't make any sense. That would be like, I'm trying to pass the driving test and then I've just done like a random 1 or 2 lessons over here and then I've come back to try and pass the test. But like, why are you pulling up the handbrake? I did the 2 lessons over there. Like, do you see what I mean? It's never going to work unless you approach it in the same way. And we can run through it here and you'll see the parallels to pass the driving test. To get a good driving instructor, first of all, who's going to explain to you how the car works, what's under the hood, what the pedals do, etc. Like we're doing right now, education on the body. Then you have to accept you're going to be shit starting off. It's not going to be 0 to 100 overnight. There's no 2-week fixed course on how to drive, is there? You know, it's going to take time. It's going to take some months. And whenever you get there, you will. Like, you have to follow the process. So kind of check the ego, see it's not going to be a quick fix and follow the process. Then you have to put in the work, you know, and it's going to be good days, bad days, ups and downs. But you know, over time, if you follow the process, you're going to know how to drive at the end. You know, we don't hear people trying to drive for 6 weeks or maybe 8, 10, maybe even 12 weeks. They fail the test and then it's like, oh yeah, I just can't drive. The driving instructor said that I'm just not going to be able to drive and I should probably settle and just cycle around the place. You know, it sounds a bit silly, but that's the stuff I've been told in my body. Oh, I'm not passing the test yet because I'm still tight and stiff. I don't have enough control over my body. Oh yeah, probably settle. Probably shouldn't do the sports you're trying to do at the moment. Do you see what I mean? It's the same thing there. So that's pretty much what you have to do. And once you follow the whole process down to the end, what happens then? Driving instructor is looking at you. You have good enough control over the car. You're driving around safely. The driving instructor feels safe and he knows that you're safe. What happens? Doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't need to pull up the handbrake now anymore because he was only doing that to protect you, but now you can protect yourself. So he doesn't have to do that. Same with the brain. Once you have really good control over the body, like mobility, which is one aspect of it, then you're safe. The brain feels safe. You have control over your body, so the brain doesn't need to keep you tight and stiff. And like, this is all the theory. Once you put this into action, like I've done this over years, gone from Tin Man hips, specifically told by some experts, like, don't even think about the splits, that'll be impossible. I've took it all the way from failing table tests for my hips and chronic hip pain for 10 years to actually getting the splits. And I've gone through that whole process over years. It's amazing to go through it. That's why, you know, I know I can do anything in time with my body because I've, you know, come from a bad place and brought it all the way up there. But when people say, oh, that's so impressive and I could never do that, I don't accept that. It's not the truth. The truth is, that's like, I'm driving a car 5 years and I'm a really good driver and you're over there and you never heard of the process of how to drive a car or that humans can drive cars and you're looking at me like, oh, man, that's amazing. Like, how are you driving a car? I could never do that. You see, like, the problem is our beliefs, the lack of education, all these other things put self-limiting beliefs on us and we think we can't do these things and we're told that as well, which reinforces it. Okay, so that's a really good analogy that'll help you remember that you can overcome this. You just need to follow that same process that you did to learn how to drive. That's what you need to apply for the body. And if you even think of the two of them and look back, the process of learning to drive, the process you are taking to try and get back control of your body, you'll see the massive gaps. But this is what has to happen. You have to see the flaws in your approach and you need a bit of pain and frustration to actually change it now going forward. That's what I had to do. So finishing up then, a few client examples of it then were, let me see. Oh yeah, we had Owen. So I just picked out, so I have the Physical Freedom Program, which is what I'm calling it now. It's the one-to-one coaching, which is the education and the coaching to get back control over the body, get rid of tightness, stiffness, pain, get back doing things that we want to do. I just picked out a few examples here where clients were highlighting the education piece, because it's so important. So it was Owen actually, they ended up winning the first intermediate championship for hurling in Kilkenny in 50 years, and he used to have hip issues and like tight groins really hold him back in matches. But once he understood all this, that it's just the brain protecting him, we need to get better control over the hips, over the groins, that went away over a period of months and following the process and the ups and downs. Then he was able to play in that match, and they won it, which was great. That's why we're doing it. But yeah, he says Mark provides a mobility program, but more importantly, education on how the body works and how it needs to be maintained. It says it all there, like once you actually understand these things, it's so much more empowering as well, because we're not just hoping and guessing. It's like, no, here's the science, here's evolution. You had all the mobility in the world as a kid, you've just changed this way, you can change back this way. If it wasn't possible, you wouldn't have had all that mobility as a kid. Okay, so that was Owen's example. Anna's example is there as well, and Colin's example is there too, and there's a good few other ones. So this is all in the weekly newsletter, which I'll put in the description here. And there's lots more examples, and I've dove into it in a good bit more detail around this topic as well, if you want to check that out. And yes, that's pretty much it. Any questions on that, you can comment here, or else get on to me on Instagram, probably the best place to get me. So send me a DM on Instagram if you want any more answers or any questions that you want to ask on this, and I'll get back to you then. Okay, so don't settle, and we will chat to you in the next one.